Hari Om. Welcome to Ola 18 and we are talking about Dhanurveda today, and therefore let me start with a mantra of the Rigveda from the 7th mandala composed by Vasishtha, and this has a special significance because this has a description of a great war in the Rigvedic period which is called the Dasharadhya Yuddha. So let me start with that Rigvedic mantra, and excuse me, as I have told earlier, I won't be reciting the mantra with the swaras. I am not trained, so I will be reciting it as a shloka. Okay? Yatra naras samayante kritadvajo yasminnaja bhavati kincha napriyam yatra bhayante bhuvana swaradrishaha tatra naha Indra Varunau Adhivochatam. Let me translate it for you. Here is a place, Yatra. Yatra is a Chandasa Dairghya. It should be Yatra and Tatra everywhere, okay? So Yatra Naraha Kritadvajaha Samayante, where people holding flags up, lifting up the flags, they assemble. That's the battlefield, okay? Yasmin Ajo, in which war? Nothing good happens. Na bhavati kinchana priyam. Nothing is good, All is bad, all is unfavorable. Yatra bhayante bhuvana swaradrisha. All the three worlds, that is the people, the beings in the worlds, they tremble at the very thought of the battle. In that battle, O Indra and Varuna, please speak for us. Please motivate us. Please inspire us. This is told by sage Vasishtha, who was the Purohita of King Sudas Paijavana. So what is Dhanurveda? Okay, this is the martial art or the science of warfare of ancient India. So this is the warfare, the science of warfare of India. We have, in the Rigveda, Vajrin or Vajrahastaha Indraha. So this is something which is Indra is holding Vajra. There is Kodanda, the powerful bow of Rama. You cannot see any idol of Rama any time without his bow and arrow. You may have Krishna sometimes with a flute, bansuri, sometimes with a chakra, sometimes with the reins of the horses because he's a charioteer. But there is Rama never devoid of his Kodanda, okay? That is his powerful bow. Then there is Pinaka, the Dhanushya, the bow of Shiva, and therefore he is called Pinakapani. There is Nandaka, the sword of Vishnu. It's not only that all the gods have some weapons, the weapons have the names. Okay? So Nandaka, the sword of Vishnu. Then Sudarshana, the disc of Vishnu and Krishna. Kaumodaki is the Gada, the mace, the divine mace. And Trishula of Lord Shiva, Durga also holds it. Kali also holds that Trishula. And Pasha, Pashahasta is Varuna, Yama, even Ganesha has Pasha in his hand. Devi also has Pasha in one of her multiple hands. So these are some of the weapons which we are familiar with. This is just a picture, Kodandadhari Rama. Then there is a Kali at the right corner. At the left corner we have Indra and Agni. Then in the middle is Krishna with his Sudarshana, Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. These are the Lanchanas of Vishnu. And then this is Mahishasura Mardini with prominent Trishula. So these are very familiar in the Indian pantheon. Now, are there these, Vishnu, Krishna, Durga, etc.? We see all these gods only in the Puranas. What about the Vedas? Were there wars? India is a peace-loving country. We always say, we are a peace-loving country. That doesn't mean there were no wars, right? There have to be wars because from millennia, right from the time when the human settlement started, right from then, conflicts, power games, fights for women, for land, for some values. There are so many causes, so many reasons for which fights are fought. So one such fight, it's not just a fight, it's a battle. It's the first historic war which is documented in the Rigveda. In Rigveda 7:18, 7:83, the verse which I chanted, it is 783, second verse. That is called Dasharadhya Yuddha. There is one king called Sudas Paijavana, Pijavana's putra, Pijavana's son, and his Purohita, his priest was Vasishtha. Now, formerly it was Vishwamitra who was his priest. Something happened between Sudas and Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra left him. And as is, we know Vishwamitra is a very hot-tempered sage. So he went and gathered some 10 kings. He made a confederation of those 10 kings. And those 10 kings fought, waged a war against Sudas. Vasishtha was their Kulapati, a Kula Guru. And then he invoked Indra, he invoked Varuna and Mitra to help them out, and ultimately Sudas was victorious. He defeated the 10 kings. So very picturesque description is there in the Vasishtha Mandala, that is the 7th Mandala of the Rigveda. And this fight was fought, the war was fought on the banks of river Parushni, which is modern Ravi in Punjab, Ravi ke us par, Gulzar, okay? And this speaks of basically the rivalry between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, which continued till the Mahabharata period. And interestingly, the Dhanurveda, about which I am going to talk today, is told by sage Vasishtha to Vishwamitra. Okay? So this is the first ever historical war. War drums are there, war cries are there. In fact, I recited the second verse. In the third verse, Vasishtha says, there are so many people assembled there, and there are war cries, they are shouting loudly, and so the entire universe is, flooded, is resonating with those war cries, okay? And there is not only weapons, but the strategy also by Sudas Paijavana, and weapons wielded by the kings and strategic plans by the priests. It's always, like the Brahma and the Kshatriya. The Brahma and the Kshatriya. The last slide will speak about that, so I won't talk much about it. If you want to learn more about the Dasharadhya Yuddha, there is a link. And I heard that there is a film, something coming on Dasharadhya Yuddha, the War of 10 Kings of the Rigveda, okay? And on the Google Swami, we'll give you some posters also, okay? After that, we come to the great wars of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Chronologically, after the Rigveda, we come to Ramayana and then to the Mahabharata. Both are itihasas, the great epics, and portray great wars, okay? And there are various astras and shastras. Astra is from root asa, to throw. And shastra is a thing which you hold in your hand. So a sword is a shastra, but an arrow is a astra because you release the arrow from a yantra, right? So astra and shastra. Then shastras like spears, swords, shields, these are all shastras. And when all these things are there naturally has to be, there is a demand that a treatise has to be there to enumerate all the types, tell you more details about every shastra, astra, the warrior, his positions, his stances, and the training, the military training to the Senapati, and so many things are there. So is there such a text? And then we come to Dhanurveda, which is a text. But before that, this is 17 June 1813 evening. This is Taiwan news. And what's the news? Photo of the day, India's Rama takes on China's dragon. So the Kodandadhari Rama, I was telling you, this is of the recent happenings on the border of China border, Ladakh, okay? So you all are aware of that. So I thought this is very, very apt in today's lecture, right? And that too, not Indian newspaper, Taiwan. And Taiwan is such a small country compared to India and free from COVID, okay? That is another thing. So Dhanurveda is a necessity because there are so many wars, so many fights. So some text, treatise of, categorized, classified things, that is necessary. What is Dhanurveda? Dhanushaha Vedaha, Dhanurvedaha. Yatha Rucham Vedaha, Rugvedaha. Yajusham Vedaha, Yajurvedaha. Ayushaha Vedaha, Ayurvedaha. Dhanushaha Vedaha, Dhanurveda. So basically it's archery. Dhanush is a bow. Basically it's archery, okay? And it was composed by Vasishtha, as I told you, and he told this to Vishwamitra. But then he also says that this was primarily told by Lord Shiva to Parashurama. Then from Parashurama it came to Vasishtha, from Vasishtha to Vishwamitra. However, if you search on the Google, you will see some two different texts. Ultimately, they are the same. I tallied. Okay? They are the same. But one you find as Vasishtha Samhita or Vasishtha's Dhanurveda, and the second you find is Shiva Samhita, Dhanurveda told by Shiva, similar to Vasishtha's Dhanurveda. Then there is one text called Niti Prakashika. Niti is not just moral, this is a Rajaniti. Okay? So Niti Prakashika, it is traditionally, ascribed to Veda Vyasa. He told it to Janamejaya by Vaishampayana. And then there is Agni Purana, especially some 3-4 chapters from 248 to 251, because Agni Purana is a very encyclopedic Purana. It has all Shastras in it, including grammar, Dharma Shastra, Kama Shastra, Alankara Shastra, Artha Shastra, everything is there. So Dhanurveda is also there. And there is one tantric text, which is Samrajya Lakshmi Pithika. This is a Shaiva tantric text, and it has some chapters on Dhanurveda, something to do with archery. The picture gives you Vasishtha was the Kulapurohita of Dasharatha, Ikshvaku Kula, and he is training Rama and Lakshmana when they were quite young. So that is the picture. If you Google again, every Veda has got a picture. Every Veda is a personified figure. Okay. So here we have Ayurveda is this one. To your left is Ayurveda. Ayurvedo Haridra Bhovanarasya Vishaladrik Akshasutram Sudhakumbam etc. And what is the description of Dhanurveda, Dhanurveda is Pitavarna. It's yellow in complexion. Pikavaktro. Vaktra is mukha, face. Face is like pika. Pika is a kokila. Pika is a kokila. And Mahattanuhu, very fat. Dhanur Banadharaha, holding Dhanu and Bana, bow and arrow. Raudraha and Mastake Kapila Jataha. And it has Kapila, that is tawny, brownish jata on the head. So this is a picture of the Dhanurveda, picturization, rather personification of the Veda. Now, what are the different ayudhas, different weapons, and who is supposed to wield these weapons? There are certain restrictions. I mean, it's not that it is strictly adhered to, but Brahmanaya Dhanurdeyam. Dhanu should be wielded by a Brahmana. Khadgam vai Kshatriyaya cha. Khadga is a sword for a Kshatriya. Vaishyaya dapayet kuntam. Kuntam is a spear, bhala in Marathi. Spear, which you just throw away. And Gadam Shudraya dapayet. And Gada, the mace, is given to a Shudra. That is from Dhanurveda 1a. Wherever possible, I have kept the mantras, but it is not a research like thing. Sometimes I have skipped the numbers. Okay. And then in Dhanurveda, Vasishtha speaks of 7 types of battles. Saptadha Yuddhani, Dhanu Yuddha, Chakra Yuddha, Kunta Yuddha, Khadga Yuddha, Kshurika Yuddha, and Khadgancha Gada Yuddha, and Bahu Yuddha. Bahu Yuddhamcha, Yuddhani Saptadha. Now, Kshurika is basically, Kshura is a blade. Yeah, Kshura. Kshaura, we say, like Kshaura. So, razor or a blade. But it could be, it could be a scalpel for a surgeon, okay? But then it could be a knife in general. So, Kshurika. So, these are the 7 types. And this verse is not from Dhanurveda, it is from Agni Purana. And I was making it a special comment to say that Dhanurveda doesn't include Bahu Yuddha, but Agni Purana has included that. That is also a variety of Yuddha, okay? Variety of fight. Yuddhani Saptadha. And then Agni Purana says, see how the professions give you the recognition, your names. One who knows all the 7 Yuddhas gets the name Acharya. So whosoever has the Acharya surname, that could have two possibilities. One is one who is master of 7 types of warfare, or the other is one who has done a commentary on the Prasthanatraya. He is called Acharya. And the Prasthanatraya is Brahma Sutra, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. He is also called an Acharya. One who knows 4 types of warfare is called Bhargava. Again, a very interesting name. Bhargava, Manjul Bhargava, for example, right? Bhargava. So, it is Bhrugukulotpanna, one who is born in the dynasty of Bhrugus, and who is Vishwamitra, he is also Bhargava, right? Parashurama, Bhargava. So, when we say Ramo, Ramascha, 3 Ramas are there in the Dashavatara. One is Bhargava Rama, one is Dasharathi Rama, and the third is Haladhara Rama, that is Balarama. Okay? So, Bhargava Rama. So, Bhargava could be Bhrugukulotpanna, or Bhargava leads you directly to the 4 types, the knower of 4 types of warfare. That is also Bhargava. Then with 2, you have the surname Yodha, and with 1, it is Ganaka. So, that is again descriptive thing. What is the material for the bow? We normally say, Vishnu has the bow, which is Sharangapani, we call him. Sharanga, it became Saranga, and then Sarangapani becomes a surname. Sharangapani becomes a surname. And what is Sharanga? It is from Shrunga. And what is Shrunga? Horn. Okay? So, the bow which is made up of horn is called Sharanga. So, the bow is made up of 3 types. It is horn, that is Sharanga, or metal, or it is wood. And wood is Ikshudanda or bamboo. Ikshudanda is sugarcane or bamboo, look alike, right? Or metal. There is another name for that, we'll come to that. I think metal arrow is known as Naraj. So there is a metal dhanu also which is very heavy to lift. We don't know which exactly was the dhanu which was lifted by Prabhu Ramachandra. Okay? Now this is about the bow. What about the bowstring? The bowstring, Ja, Dhanurja, it is called. It is made up of the ligament of a deer. Snayu, Mrigasnayu. That is the bowstring material. And then to the arrows, there are some arrows are made up from bamboo of the thickness of little finger. Bamboo of this thickness, okay, little finger. Of that thickness bamboo you choose, then cut it and then make an arrow. Then there are some feathers attached at the back. In the picture you see some feathers. The feathers are of crow, hawk, crane, vulture, so many birds are there. And they give you some sort of fletching or some steadiness. When the arrow is released, some sort of steadiness is given to the arrow by these feathers. Now again, very interesting thing. Arrows are as thin as a little finger, we saw. But then sometimes, some arrows could be a little bit broader at the tip, broader at the back, On the basis of that, they are feminine or male, masculine or neuter gender. Very interesting, no? So, arrows broad at the tip are feminine, broader at the end, at the feather side is male, masculine, and those which are like common, sama, is Napunsakalinga, that is neuter gender. So, in arrows also we have 3 types. According to the heads, the phala is the head, arrow head. It is called phala or phala. Okay? So, there are 10 types of phala. All these, like taxonomical things, they are given by Vasishtha in Dhanurveda. Very interesting. And he has given, I am not going into details, I am giving you, this is like a Chanchu Pravesha in the subject. The more of it, you will know by self-study. Everything can't be told in the class, right? So, Aramukha, it is head like an owl. These are not in the order, okay? The picture Google Swami has given. So, they are not in the order. There are many, in fact. Then, Kshurapra, like a razor, because Kshura is a razor. Gopucha, like a cow's tail. Then Ardha Chandra, the half moon. I think we have a Ardha Chandra here, right side, third from the right, Ardha Chandra. And this is especially to cut the neck of a person. Ardha Chandra. By the way, Ardha Chandra has another meaning, you know. To give Ardha Chandra, that is what? To push you back, to kick you out of the house. And there is a story. I'll tell you sometime later. There is a story for that. Okay, so Ardha Chandra, then Suchi Mukha, as sharp as a needle at the tip. Okay, Suchi Mukha. Bhalla, like a bhala, spear. Okay. Then Vatsadanta, like the teeth of a calf. Vatsa, Govatsa, like the teeth of a calf. Dvibhalla, two-pronged. Two-pronged could be this. Below, you know, third from the left, even the first from the left. This is two-pronged arrow. Then there is a Karnika, like a petal of a flower. This looks like a petal of a flower. The first upper side, upper row. And Kakatunda, like the beak of a crow. These are the 10 types of phala, or the phala. Okay? Shara, phala. And here I have taken here the note, Naracha is fully made up of iron. Otherwise we saw that it is made up of wood, okay, or iron, or Sharangapani, okay. So that's a bow. This is basically made up of wood or iron. So Naracha is made of iron, and Nalika, Nali is Nali in Marathi. So it is hollow as a reed, as hollow as a reed, okay? Reed like hollow. And Shatagni, very interesting word is Shatagni. Shatan Hanti iti Shatagni. That which kills hundreds of people, it is similar to the cannon. Shatagni is a cannon. Cannonball you throw and hundreds of people get killed. So that is Shatagni, one which kills hundreds of people. Then these weapons, again there are types, you know, types based on whether they are mukta, they are released, they are amukta, they are in your hand. Mukta, mukta, some are released, some are like in the hand, you know, like that. There are some chaturvidham ayudham. The weapons are fourfold. Muktam, amuktam, mukta muktam, yantra muktam. Classifications. Everything comes, you know, classified. So Agni Purana also adds one more, this, and this is Yantra Mukta. Yantra Mukta here in the last word, that is weapons such as the sling or the bow and arrow. Sling, you just hurl it and throw it. Yantra Mukta. From something, काय ते आपलं बेसकी किंवा galol, sling. Then Pani Mukta. Pani is hand. So Pani Mukta, released from the hand. It is hurling weapons such as the javelin throw. It's a game now, right? It was a weapon earlier. Mukta, Mukta Sandharita or Mukta Mukha is weapons that can be used for either hurling or thrusting, such as a spear. Spear can be thrown also, and holding in your hand you can pierce somebody, right? So it is both. Then Hastashastra or Hastashastra or Amukta is weapons in the hand such as a sword. Then there is Bahu Yuddha, I was telling you. Agni Purana added it for the first time. Bahu considered as a weapon. Malla Yuddha, it was considered as a weapon. Interestingly, all these have become games now. Even archery has become a game. More of a game than a weapon for war. Now, positions of a warrior. It's not only one position which he releases, standing or sitting. There are so many positions. The famous figure is Arjuna in front of us, looking down at the reflection of the Matsya and hitting it, right? So there follow 9 asanas or positions of an archer. Because basically it's a Dhanurveda, so basically it's an archer, but the positions could be, they are adaptable by any warrior with any weapon in his hand. So Samapada, holding both the feet even, standing, putting the feet together. That is Samapada, Savadhan position. Okay? Then Vaishakha, standing erect, standing apart with the feet apart, standing erect with the feet apart. Okay. Then Mandala, disc, standing with the knees apart, arranged in the shape of a flock of geese. What it really means, we don't know. We need to have some Dhanurveda coach, one who has literally studied all these things. Then Alidha, in fact, Alidha and Pratyalidha, there is one Pratyalidha here. Liha is to lick. Liha is to lick. Alidha, licking. Licking is touching basically. Polished, bending the right knee with the left foot pulled back. Right knee is, rested on the ground and left foot back. That is Alidha. Pratyalidha, bending the left knee with the right foot pulled back. Okay? So Alidha and Pratyalidha. This is something like left, So Pratyalidha. This is like Pratyalidha. This could be a question. What is Arjuna's position in the picture? Again, there are some positions. The picture here is of Kalari because we are in Kerala. Okay? Therefore, the picture is Kalari. But of course, that also requires some positions. And Mandala, you go around. Now, Kiran is a Kalari expert here, so he must correct me if I am wrong. Then Jata, origin, placing the right foot straight with the left foot perpendicular, the ankles being 5 fingers apart. You have to stand in and see it, watch it in the mirror, whether you are following this position. Then Dandayata, extended staff, keeping the right knee bent with the left leg straight or vice versa. And it is called Vikata, very dreadful, very ferocious. Vikata, Bhayankara. Vikata, Bhayankara, dreadful. If the 2 legs are 2 palm lengths apart. 2 palm lengths, like this. 2 palm lengths apart. Then Samputa, hemisphere. Swastika. Swastika is basically well-being. Su asti, it is swasti. What is swasti? Su asti. You are good at your home, that is swasti. Swasti naha bhuyad. Okay. So swastika is well-being, keeping the feet 16 fingers apart and lifting the feet a little. These are all the details given in Agni Purana. 248 chapter, so many shlokas. These are all the Agni Purana things. Then the things which are given in Dhanurveda, we saw Agni Purana, the things which are given especially for an archer, drawing the bowstring till hair. Till hair. It is Kaishika. Till hair. Kaishika. Till forehead. Satvika. Till ear. Vatsakarna. Till neck. Bharata. Till shoulder. Skandha. Enables an archer to pierce a target at various positions. Now these positions etc. is okay, but what I want to bring out to your notice is, see, if you are piercing an object standing above, then your positions would change. If you are piercing and aiming an object which is above, again the positions would change. So this is not just a enumeration of stances or positions, this has some background of mathematical calculations as well. The rules of maybe Gati, motion, Newton's law, whatever. I mean, this requires, right? This requires so many other things, the knowledge of physics, motion especially is required. And then later on we have like, chala, achala, chala, chala, etc. Whether you are aiming at a steady object, moving object, whether you are steady, you are moving, permutations, combinations, steady and moving. So 4 parts. So we have all these. So in that also, the speed, the speed with which you are going, the speed with which the object is being moved, all that has to be taken into consideration. So that involves a lot of physics and motion and mathematics, calculation and everything. So targets are 4 types: chala, achala, chala, and dvyachala. Dvyachala, both are steady. Dvi, achala, both are steady. First is chala. The object is chala, but you are steady. Then achala, the object is achala, you may be chala, because there is dvi achala, both are steady. Then chala chala, both are moving. Going on a horse and aiming at a deer, running deer, like Dushyanta did in the first act of Shakuntala. Griva Bhanga Viramam. Okay? So, the deer is also moving, the Ratha is also moving, and he is aiming. And for all these things, before he practices, there are so many rules for a practice. There are so many rules for training the archer, training the coach, what sort of training the coach has to undergo, all that is there. But for the archer, before he releases anything, he has to take a deep breath. Pranayama is necessary, and then he has to release the bow. So it's not just a physical activity, it's a mental activity as well. You have to have the concentration. For that concentration, yoga is a must, and therefore pranayama. It is specifically advised for an archer to do pranayama before releasing arrow. So you have to hold the breath and then release the arrow. So there are so many things involved, like physical posture, a concentration, yogic practice, and before releasing the arrow, you have to take the permission of your teacher. Shall I do it? And then only you have to do it. Okay? So, Guru Adesha, that is also very, very essential. Now, when this second picture here, Rama, he took the permission of Vishwamitra first, before he had approached the bow. Then he bowed down to the bow, and then he took it up. After lifting up, he was tying the bowstring, and then the bow broke apart. That is how the story goes. So see the stance, see the position in which Prabhu Ramachandra is standing. You can't stand Samapada. When you are wielding, when you are tying the bow, your legs have to be apart from each other. So everything matters here. So all these positions. The upper picture, it gives this is Dronacharya and Arjuna, and there is a bird here, the famous story, aiming at the eye of the bird, and everybody says, I see this, I see that, I see the tree and the birds and the flowers and the fruits, and Arjuna says, I see only the eye of the bird. Then hit it, right? So that bird is there. So many things are required before you release an arrow. This is a very interesting thing, Shabda Veda. Just hearing a sound, you hit the target. Very difficult, unimaginable. But we have very famous Dasharatha hitting. Okay, he thought it to be a prey which has come to drink water. And unknowingly, mistakenly, he hit Shravana Kumara. In Ramayana, interestingly, the name Shravana Kumara doesn't come. It is only Muni Kumara Katha. It is only Muni Kumara. Shravana comes afterwards, I don't know where. But in Valmiki Ramayana, we don't have the name. And we have a famous story of Shravana Bal in Marathi also. And everywhere we know the story as Shravana Kumara Katha. But Valmiki doesn't name the boy. It is Muni Kumara Katha. Some Muni Kumara is taking his parents to a pilgrimage, and you know the story. So that was the Shabda Veda, the book, the water. He has dipped the pitcher in the water, and that sound, because it's night time and he can't even see, but Shabda Veda, the Dasharatha hit the target. Of course, it was the death of a person. Then Ekalavya. You know the story of Ekalavya? When Pandavas went to the forest with Guru Dronacharya, a dog of the Pandavas also was going, and he was barking, the dog was barking. Ekalavya, we all know that he has considered Dronacharya to be his guru, and he is worshipping Guru and practicing Swadhyaya. No teacher to train him. It is Swadhyaya for him. Okay? So you don't need teacher every time. Underline. So he is doing that, and this dog, he is disturbing his concentration. And therefore he released the arrow in such a way, without seeing the dog, only barking sound, that the dog's mouth was shut. It could not bark anymore. And then these Pandavas and Dronacharya were wondering how all of a sudden the dog stopped barking, and then they came and saw Ekalavya, and then the whole story, you know that story. So that is another thing. You may say this is all prehistory. We don't know this. We have just heard about it. It is said in Ramayana. It is said in Mahabharata. One instance from Ramayana, one from Mahabharata. Very ancient history. What of that now? We have a modern history. Medieval history. Medieval? Exactly. Prithviraj Chauhan. History of Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay. Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori was, Prithviraj Chauhan did not kill Ghori, being a true Rajput. When Ghori was Nishastra, he didn't have any weapon in his hand, Prithviraj let him go. 17 times. 17 times. That was the biggest mistake. He let him go. And then the last time, Ghori caught hold of him. And he took him to Kabul. And he told him, when he was brought in the court, Ghori told him, downcast eyes. In front of me, Sultan, you can't come like this. He said, I am Raja. I am Rajput. I won't downcast my eyes. Only Eklingaji I will bow down, not you. And then he pierced both his eyes, blinded him. That is the story. Prithviraj Chauhan became blind. Now Prithviraj Chauhan had a Rajkavi called Chandbaradai. Chandbaradai. He was a great philosopher friend, like Kalusha for Sambhaji, he was for Prithviraj Chauhan. So he went to Ghori's kingdom. He saw his king, in such a great light. And then he conspired with him what we can do, how we can take revenge on Ghori. And he knew that Prithviraj Chauhan is a Shabdavedi. Shabdavedi. Listening to the sound, he can hit the target. So he says, let me plan something. You just cooperate with me. And after that event, we will both kill each other before our body is mutilated by the enemies. That was the thing. Rongte khade ho jate. Right? So that is the thing. And then Chandbaradai came to Ghori and said, do you know that our Raja, is a Shabdavedi? He said, I don't believe all this stuff. I don't believe all this. If you want, you can test it. Then he said, okay, how can I test it? What does he do? He says, you keep 7 iron discs, one after the other, one over the other, and make some sound. This exactly is given in Dhanurveda of Vasishtha. Okay, Kaunsya Patra Veda. Kaunsya Patra, Ayas Patra. Make a sound on that, and then you can pierce them. So our Raja can do 7 layers of iron disc. He can pierce in one arrow. Ghori thought it is unbelievable, especially for a blind king. What will he do? He said, okay, let me test it. And he called his big darbar, all the people, thoda dekhenge. And then he said, if your king fails to do that, his head will be cut off. He said, okay, my king will do it. And then the blind king was brought in. Chandbaradai escorted him. And Chandbaradai said, yeah, he is here. And then he said, usko ghumao. Round, round, round. So that he loses the track, which direction is the king and all. So he, like Andheri Koshimbir, we used to play blind game. Yeah. So he was, ek to blind hai. And then ghumaya. And then he says, okay, now he is ready. He said, but then you have to give order, no? That sound should be made, because unless you give the order, my king will not listen to anybody else. So my king listen only to you. And then he made shoot. Chodo. Yeah, kuch to bola. Okay, Hindi mein. And then Chandbaradai told him, to Prithviraj Chauhan, 4 baas 24 gaj, angula ashta praman, ta upar sultan hai, mat chuke Chauhan. This is the measurement. How far is the Simhasana of Ghori? 4 baas 24 gaj, angula ashta praman. So this is the pramana. This is the measurement he gave. And ta upar, uske upar, Sultan hai, mat chuko Chauhan. Okay? So the moment Ghori said shoot, the arrow was shot, the arrow was released, and Ghori was killed. There was one havoc in the darbar, and before anybody could catch these two, they both killed each other and ended their lives. So that is a history. So this is not just a prehistory, this is a history. Shoot. And this blind king shoots. So Shabdabhedi is not just a prehistory or ancient history, it's a medieval history as well. And what Dhanurveda has to tell about it, it tells it in second chapter. There are 4 chapters of Dhanurveda, each having some 60-70 verses. Okay, so Karanendriya Mano Yogat Laksham Nishchayatam Naye. Too much of concentration is needed. Karana, Indriya, Karanendriya. Okay, your ear. Mana, that also has to be there, and you have to concentrate because you can't see it. Okay, and then Laksham Nichchayatam Nayet, you have to determine where your object or target lies. Etaccha Dushkaram Karma, very difficult. This is very, very difficult. Bhagye Kasyapi Siddhyati. Somebody will be able to do it, not all will be able to do it. Bhagye Kasyapi Siddhyati, very difficult. But there are certain rules, no practicing in rainy season, no practicing on 8th, Ashtami and Chaturdashi, then Ravivasara and Guruvasara and Shukravasara, no practice, Anadhyaya Dina. Okay, that is Anadhyaya Dina. And after that, after 4 months of this, leisurely spending time without practicing anything, on the Mahanavami day, the Dashera starts, okay, and on the Mahanavami day, and the Shastrastra Puja is done, the Ayudha Puja is done even now. Though we don't belong to a Kshatriya clan, we don't even have, except for the kitchen knife, we don't even have any other weapon in our household, but we do that Shastrastra Puja, okay. At least the motor mechanic, that kit, that toolbox we keep, and we do some puja for that. So Ayudha Puja, this is the Kalari Ayudha Puja, Kiran, this is Kalari Ayudha Puja. And for that, after Shabdaveda comes the various astras. We have heard about these astra, Brahmastra, Pashupatastra, the entire Kiratarjuniya Mahakavya is for acquiring the Pashupatastra. Arjuna went to Himalayas, and that story, Kiratavadha and all that. So there is Brahmastra which was released and which was aimed at Uttara's Garbha, and Sri Krishna avoided that, and it went back to Ashwatthama, and Ashwatthama got wounded. All that story in Mahabharata. We have Agneyastra, Vayavyastra, Parjanyastra, so many astras are there, the description comes thereafter. And for astras especially, these are not normal arrows, right? These are not normal arrows, and therefore the mantras have to be recited. And for that mantras to get you, Brahmastra can't be given to any Tom, Dick and Harry. It was given only to Ashwatthama and Arjuna by Dronacharya. Only 2 people knew Brahmastra. So before that, you have to have, some Koti Japa of Savitri mantra, and in reverse order. Not Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai, reverse order. So there is some, viniyoga for that. Mantra Shakti is there, then only it enables you to release the astras. And tantric syllables, Om Phat, Swaha, etc. Hana, 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 these are the very common things. Hana, kill. So these are the common things. And after saying all this, Vasishtha says, what is the end product of this? What is the learning outcome? What is the learning outcome of this? Jite Lakshmihi. If you win, Lakshmi. Mrite Svargaha and Kirtishcha Dharanitale. If you are dead, there is Swarga and Kirti. And that Kirti, we have in the form of Viragal, the hero stones, the Sati stones, the hero stones. There is lot more to speak on that. Viragal. Gal is Kallu in Kannada. From that it has come. Viragal. So Jite Lakshmi Mrite Swargaha. Now for all these warfare and all, vyuhas. Mahabharata speaks of so many views. Every day Dronacharya made this vyuha, and then Drishtadyumna, the Senapati of the Pandavas, made this counter vyuha and all that. That description would be there. One of my students there in Mumbai has worked on this warfare of Mahabharata. So this is the Makara vyuha. Makara is a crocodile. The left side first picture, left corner, Makara vyuha. The middle one is Padma vyuha, like a lotus petals. The right one is Shakata vyuha, that is a cart, bullock cart. Shakata. Okay, Shakata vyuha. Then left side corner is the below row is Krauncha or Garuda vyuha. Garuda vyuha, Shena vyuha, Krauncha vyuha, different names are there. Here Danda vyuhascha Shakato Varaho Makarasthatha Suchi vyuhotha Garudaha Padma vyuha Dayo Mataha Adayaha. But he hasn't added what is included in Adi, etc. But what is more there, Vasishtha has not added. Here is the Suchi. Suchi like a needle. Okay, Suchi. The very famous vyuha which we all know about is Chakra vyuha. Chakra vyuha. That is not mentioned by Vasishtha. But one of the pictures of Padma vyuha is like a chakra, and Vasishtha Samhita and Shiva Samhita, it's one and the same, but some verses here and there, some words are different. He mentions Chakra Shakata vyuha. Not Chakra vyuha, but Chakra Shakata vyuha. So maybe we don't know. So this is the Chakra vyuha picture, and Abhimanyu knew how to enter from this side, okay, but he didn't know how to get out of it. And therefore he got inside in the interior thing, and there all the Duryodhana, Dushasana, Karna, Jayadratha, all were there, and they killed that poor boy, 16-year-old boy, Abhimanyu. So that is the Chakra vyuha. But sometimes we say that Padma vyuha could be a Padma, like petals in the petals, petals in the petals, like a fully bloomed lotus. So, but he doesn't mention Chakra vyuha per se, okay. Then the training for the archers and the gurus, king should learn grammar. Why grammar? Whatever you study, grammar has to be there in Sanskrit, right? Grammar, especially second person commands. Why? Because unless the guru gives you the command, you are not supposed to release that. And the second person, lot lakara, adnyartha, imperative mood, second person, singular. That is a must. So grammar knowledge is a must. Training of infantry, cavalry, elephants is mentioned, but not described. No details are there provided, only mentioned. And he mentions, interestingly, a dictionary called Kshatra Kosha. We don't know where it is. Kshatra Kosha, I didn't find any such dictionary, but it has apparently, it must have apparently, all the words related to warfare, the science of war. Okay? It is Kshatra Kosha. It's mentioned in the text, in the training, that he should learn Kshatra Kosha. Maybe it is lying in some museum, some library in the Matrika form, in the manuscript form, and it is awaiting people like us to unearth it, decipher it, and bring it to the light of the day, right? So, maybe so. And the other texts are Vyakarana, of course, we mentioned. Manu Samhita, especially the 7th and the 8th chapter, they deal with Rajaniti. And therefore, the 7th and the 8th chapter. Then Mitakshara, this is a commentary on Yajnavalkya Smriti, 11th century. And some of the portions of Mitakshara are included in our Indian jurisprudence. Mitakshara, okay? And then Vishnu Yamala Tantra, this is a Tantra text. So there are so many Tantra texts which I told you about Samrajya Lakshmi Pichika, one Tantra text. So many Tantra texts also deal with Dhanurveda. One who sacrifices his life to save others, especially the Brahmins, the women, cows, and minor children, attains heaven. And this is the 4th chapter, 66 or something like. And here ends the Dhanurveda Samhita of Vasishtha, that one should aim at saving. Why this warfare started? Why this? What is the need of all these weapons? That is, as you know, if India is a peace-loving country, we don't believe in wars and we don't believe in violence and all that. There is the history. So, but this has to happen because all five fingers are not same, common. So there are khala people also. There are wicked people also. So khala nigrahanaya, you have to wield weapon in your hand. That's why we need army. That's why we need police force. Right? So here ends the Vasishtha Samhita. Now to bring it to the modern days. Of course, women and archery is not very modern. Now I told you like javelin throw and archery, these have all become games. No more like weapons. They are more like games in Olympics, in Asian Games, etc. But earlier we had women warriors and archers. For example, Kaikeyi, we have the example. Kaikeyi saved Dashratha in Ramayana. Then Satyabhama killed Narakasura. Every day, every year in Deepavali, we say, celebrate Naraka Chaturdashi. Okay? Then Devi, in her fierce form, Mahishasuramardini or Kali, she has killed hundreds of demons, especially Shumba, Nishumba, Chanda, Munda, Rakta Bijadi, so many demons here. Mahishasura, especially Mahishasuramardini. So these are all our mythological references. In Greek mythology, we have especially the women called Amazons. These are women warriors, Greek mythology. And that Amazon, the meaning is given etymology as is negation, Mazon is man, so they are manless. They marry, okay? And after marriage, after getting a child, they send their husbands away. We don't need you anymore. Okay, so they are manless in one way, or because they are archers, and they are very fierce. And therefore, while releasing that bow and arrow, this right breast will come in their way. So they cut their right breast. And therefore, Amazon, breastless. So either they are manless or breastless. So Amazon warriors. Some people feel it's just a myth. It's not a fact. But there are factual things also that there are such women warriors, they were existing. And modern times now we have this Deepika Kumari is in the right here. Okay, Deepika Kumari, our archer. Then this one is, I can't pronounce her, Chakravolu Swaro. She is from Nagaland. Deepika Kumari is from Ranchi. And this is Bombaila Devi is from Manipur. These are our three star archers of Indian games, and they were in Rio Olympic or some other thing, I think they were there. So these are the people. Parashurama, when we talk of Parashurama, especially Kerala being the Parashurama Kshetra, Maharashtra, Konkan being the Parashurama Kshetra, Parashurama symbolizes the Brahma and Kshatra both, the Sacerdotium and the Regnum. Sacerdotium is the spirituality, spiritual aspect, it's a Latin word, and Regnum is the royal word. So it is Brahma and Kshatra. One of my students has done a PhD on these two, Brahma and Kshatra. So those social structure of ashramas was followed. Brahmanas were the teachers and Kshatriyas were the students. Brahmanas, no matter what they teach, they are the teachers. They may teach you Vedanta, they may teach you Dhanurveda also. They are basically the teacher clan. Okay? Basically the teacher clan. And about Parashurama, it is always said, Agratah Chaturo Vedaha Prishtataha Sasharam Dhanuhu. I have 4 Vedas in front of me. At the back, I have Sasharam Dhanuhu. Idam Brahmam, Idam Kshatram, Shapadapi, Sharadapi. That is the symbolization of Parashurama, both amalgamated together, Brahma and Kshatra. So he embodies both the spiritual and the martial attributes and qualities. As and when required, you have to take either a pen in your hand or a sword in your hand. So it's only the time which demands you to do that. Okay? So with this I stop. Havisha. Oh, can a Brahmana have a weapon? Yes. If so, how can they use it without getting papam or killing someone? Papam for killing someone. If they are killing not just for their fancy, for protecting the people, when I thought about Dhanurveda itself, it is basically to protect the Sajjana and punish the Durjana or the Khala Pravritti. And we have, in the Maratha history, for example, because I come from Maharashtra, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was a Kshatriya. But later on, the Peshwas, they were all Brahmins. And see, Bajirao Peshwa, not a single fight he lost, not a single battle he lost. And he was called by Chhatrasal, Bundel Raja and all, Mastani's father. We know only Mastani. We don't know about his bravery. Right? So, Brahmanas also can wield weapons. Which one? Ma'am, can you classify Vedic age weapons and epic and Puranic age weapon? I can't classify as such, but many of the Vedic weapons were there in the Puranic age and the epic age as well. Because bow and arrow, for example, or the khadga, that, for example, was there right from the Vedic times. Lalita Sahasranama also has few astras mentioned. Yes. Can you explain between Pinaka Dhanusha and Sharanga Dhanusha? These are, held by two different deities. Pinaka is held by Pinakapani Shiva and Sharanga is by Vishnu or Krishna at the most. So, that's the difference. What is the use of having different gender arrows? I don't know exactly. I can't answer this question at all. But then this was there. I thought I should pick up that and tell you. Male arrows will be used for stronger targets. Yeah, that's a good, I think, yes. Female arrows will be used for longer targets because female are always Dura Drishti, they have. And important arrows will be used for practice. Oh, that's a very good, Uday Kumar, Vardi Uday Kumar. Thank you so much for this input. I never had it. Thank you very much. How many arrows one will carry? Yeah, there were many arrows. And in fact, I didn't tell you here. I told that you should do Swadhyaya for learning more. After releasing the arrows, how to get it back. That is also given in the Dhanurveda. That is also given there, So, how that Bana comes back. We have Rama and Arjuna. They released hundreds of arrows, but all those arrows came back in their Sharasana, right? So, how I don't know, but there is a provision. Okay. The Shiva and Vishnu bow and arrow were designed by Vishwakarma. In fact, all the Ayudhas of the gods were designed by Vishwakarma. He is a Taksha. He is a carpenter. Yeah, that is what you can say unified strength of all the gods. And all the weapons of the gods are basically made by Dadhichi's bones. Even the Trishula or the Vajra, it was Dadhichi Rishi who gave all these, his bones for that. Okay, so we must close before it's too late for everybody. So let us all pray. Why this is a war time now. On the border also, there is a war. And in India also, there is a war with Corona. Right? So we are having this warfare and we have different weapons to fight that. So let us pray for the Niramaya Arogya of everybody. Okay? Sarvetra Sukhinas Santu, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha.